All right. Hello, everyone. Okay. My attention finds this moment to speak about itself. Welcome, dear viewers. I thought it would be interesting to speak about the nature of attention. And before giving this talk, I realized something. The world is waiting for itself. In this episode, the focus is what could the appearance of attention imply? And in some sense, what is a non-physical being? I'm going to be looking at these. I don't know what to say to the viewers that probably when I hit 2,000 talks, I have to stop these Mr.Within talks. You know? But there's still time left. And the world will turn in many ways, many new faces, many new voices. And we were just the melody for, the world that was here, or the world we were in. Some of the most empowering moments of my life have been moments where I have realized I am completely alone. And when you're a person who notices, let's say, loneliness, right? You notice your isolation. You have an opportunity in how you, in some sense, allow your force to occupy the space-time continuum. So this isolation, there will come a time, I think we're designed as creatures to experience not only our separation with the world, but after that separation, how we are connected to it. Imagine this earth is a place where when human beings die, or imagine death is kind of like the in some sense an educational lesson, So imagine we are human beings that just want to live and we don't know how to die, right? Like, what I mean by this is that we don't think about death, we think about life, we think nothing's gonna happen. And as they say in Zen, life is kind of like you build a boat and you go and you're like, sailing in the ocean, and then halfway the boat sinks, right? So what it is that human intelligence is actually a build-up of momentum, and the graciousness of life, the niceness of it, I keep remembering, there's been moments in my life where my intuition has told me that let others go first. There's been moments in my life where my egoic desire wanted something for myself, but the ego had understood that the environment was its greater presence, so it cared for the environment. this world is not here to disturb us, to mess with us, to trap us, and believe it or not, it's not even here to free us, even though freedom is important. But I think human beings will incarnate until they begin to realize they're not just human beings. That we are being human in the same space as the planet is being the planet and the cosmos is being the cosmos, you know? There's a majesty to life, you know? And I don't know, you know, there's been times, you know, the viewers might not believe this, right? But I have a twin brother, and my father, mother, brother, I see them as greater beings than me. And there was a time where I was like this kind of like, you know, shy, passive, kind of like, you know, I don't know how to say it, but when I was younger, I did not have a great view or vision on myself. And then when these talks started, right, I wondered for a long time, because people don't understand actually what I'm doing. What I do, and it has been like this from the beginning, is that I just go and sit, and whenever I have the intent to give the talk appears. Like it just comes, right? And so I wondered for a long time, why me, right? Because since childhood, I had seen how foolish I had been in moments of life, you know? But then I realized something. I realized why, if there was even some sort of, let's say, metaphysical interdimensional game, or let's say, you know, some people have outer realm jobs and some people have inner realm jobs, you know? Some people are physically working here on this planet and some beings are non-physically working, you know? I wondered why, like, what do I have that some intuitive force in the world wanted to hear me talk, right? And then I realized, it took me a while, but I realized what was the hidden advantage I had that others, at least some people around me, I couldn't see them having. And you know what it was? And it's sad yet beautiful. The reason I think this whole logoic work is happening, these Mr. Within talks are happening, is because the cosmos had embarrassed me in front of myself. It had reduced me in front of myself, and I had not reacted intensely. Right? There's some people, you know, you reduce them, their anger and rage comes. It's as if you've awakened the beast. But there's some people, right, where when you push them around, you know, when there's intensity, the person doesn't know what to do, so they take the shelter like turtle approach. I'm gonna go into my shell. Please stop hurting me. You know? But what it was that I had become preferenceless. And I don't know what it is. I think that genetics is possessing all of our life's attention, and something wants to take that attention away from the genetics. You know what it is? I think that because I was shy younger, I did not identify with the external realm. So I was like this kid imagine imagine a child born in this world. This child doesn't trust the outer realm, so it only trusts its inner realms, and it's been in its inner realm so long that it's become preferenceless. It's gotten bored of its own ideas, right? And it was a moment where I don't know why this world works like this. I don't know what sort of cosmic joke is weaved, or is logic wrong completely. I don't know what it is, right? But when you don't want something, it is there. But when you want something, it's as if the equation, the forces of the universe have changed. Do you know? And believe it or not, I did not as a kid want to like do this, like give 10,000 talks and all of this, right? It's just a moment appeared where there was an emotion and there was a vision. You know what it is? Imagine you're going about your day, your thoughts are normal, everything's regular, nothing's so out of the ordinary. And then out of nowhere, as if like, imagine the universe commanding you. Do you know? Or imagine your soul roaring. Like, to me, there was, I don't know what it was, but it was a feeling as if, do this, and I did it, and now I'm here. Right? And what it was that we do not have a brain that can analyze and index all the information in the cosmos to have a certainty and clarity of its own action. Right? We're like the small and the big, so we don't have the privilege of knowing all the big, but we do see in life symbiosis. And what symbiosis is when two types of intelligence coexist. They live together. And human beings have been living with a non-physical intelligence, but because it's non-physical, what do we do? Do we call it a name? You know, do we celebrate it on a special day? Should we have, non-physical appreciation day every year? Do you know? What I'm trying to tell the viewers is that you don't know how many different types of attention are looking at your moment as you are alive. Right now. But have you wondered, dear listener, where does my voice come from? Where? Where do the animate workings of me as a being arise from? And do you know what it comes from? It comes from inner landscape transition. So I'll give you an example. Right now, as I'm saying these words, like speaking is kind of like second nature to me. Pretty much I'm watching myself speak. But at the same time, I notice that in the inner realm, sequentially and rhythmically, images arise. So what it is that they don't tell us this, but wherever your attention goes, your inner universe gets directed to. And I'll tell you, if you're someone who's been listening to my talks a while, most likely you have seen so many different versions of me that you don't know who I am. Do you know? Every day I wake up living a new version of myself, but still the next day I'm like, yo, what was it about though? And so, dear viewers, as someone who has inkling, not only the forces of nature are playing, not only all that man has built is playing, but it's like in the greatest game, at least we are not alone. Consciousness expands to a bigger world. So think of it this way, there's an individual who doesn't believe there's other individuals, goes and realizes there's other individuals. If the consciousness can become responsible of the whole dimension, then it will find a new world. So it's this hilarious thing that if you want, then when I open them. Because when I close my eyes, I am an unknown watcher in the pitch black abyss that notices how the mind is kind of like overlaid upon the physical room, and anything I can imagine it on top of the object. So right now I'm looking at my laptop, I can imagine this laptop floating. Where is the floating laptop? It's in the inner realms. Why can I see it? Because it has some sort of realism. But it is not as real as an object. So when it comes to the question of what is a non-physical being, we are realizing, holy shit. I didn't want to curse, but what it is... Excuse me. I don't know, guys, this world is a beautiful problem, and Sometimes ugly things happen in history, but in reality, like, why are we all here? Aside from survival, I think the species has not considered all the different ways that the idea of the human being can have meaning. And so, whoever you are, ask yourself, what kind of human are you? What kind of being are you? How are you being to notice your humanism? And then after you've noticed your humanism, it gets even better. You notice your culturalism, you notice your socialism, you know your relationship in society, not socialism, but you know what I mean. Your relationship in society, societalism here. That's better. And so, you know, I am getting tired of honestly telling the species, have hope, have hope, have hope. It's like the species has hope. You know, I've reached a point where I am. You know what it is? It's like, imagine 8 billion professionals have landed in their workstation and they're not working. It's a transcendentalist professionalism that seems to be missing from the modern age, but in the ancient world it was there. In the ancient world, the shaman wouldn't wake up. When the shaman would wake up in the morning, the whole world would. You see, you are not separate from this world only in your mind. And when I say in your mind, it's because everybody starts in their mind, you know? And then life's experiences, this is why the external reality is here, so the inner realms can shift. And it's this beautiful view where we think that our minds have developed to in some sense accompany our materialism, but it's the other way. Matter is the effect of space. And people are going to be like, what do you mean, Mr.Within? Space is alive? And I'm like, what if it is? What if right now the intelligence that these words are coming from, they're in some sense a broadcast? You know? In a panpsychist universe, even a radio wave has consciousness, you know? And you know, to be a panpsychist is bizarre. Why? Because it implies that everything is everything. To be a panpsychist is to just, you know, indirectly say something, let's not call it God, is everywhere. Consciousness is everywhere. But what it is universal order. Even when a person thinks about the idea of God, of course, various religions and traditions and approaches to this, right? But for me, the idea of a God is a suggestion of, in some sense, a point of reference for the hierarchy of man's psyche. Okay, so it's like this. I'll give you an example. Some atheists may wonder, how are religious people, opting into religion? Let me tell you how. Because each person has a sense of wonder and has a sense of mystery and has a sense of the unknown. And because we're not robots, right, we have senses of doubt and senses of mystery. So as long as the world is mysterious, people will be fascinated by mysterious things. But the thing about religion is the value it has in the sense of a cultural hierarchy. It's like this. Imagine, you were in a village and there was a tough guy. And that tough guy, like, you were like, okay, you had a certain strength. Then this warrior had a strength. Then this bandit had a strength. Or let me say it different. Let's say you have a strength. Then there's somebody in the village who's a tough guy who has more strength than you. Then there's a bandit who has more strength than the tough guy. Then there's a warrior who has more, a soldier or something who has more strength than the bandit. Do you know? I think what human consciousness is waiting for is the experience of deserved power. When I look at human beings and I wonder, why are they working? We're all working so we can have energy to work more. It's so hilarious. We're working to work. And so the species has to make up their mind. Do we all want to be, in some sense, treat this planet as just a workstation, or is it something more? And why is it that the advanced communicators want to build paradise on Earth? By the way, dear viewers, today's episode is a bit, relaxed. Feel free to ask questions. Feel free to try to destroy the context as I speak through, or create context, whatever, challenge. People are welcome to challenge me as well. But anyways, what is a non-physical being? If we have this consideration that biological intelligence leads to non-biological intelligence, right? So the proof of non-biological intelligence is there. Right now, I can touch my body. My body is physical. So my body is associated as a physical part of my being. But I can't touch my name. I can't touch my ego. I can't touch the idea of myself. That is a non-physical projection of reality kept upon reality, kept overlaid upon reality, right? So when it comes to what a being is, right, based on its motion, its attributed intelligence, based on what it wants to do, somebody can, let's say, I guess, in some strange way, philosophically, we can conceptualize that God is like a being that has never moved, but man is the movement, as if there's this inconceivable noun, and mankind is like the conceivable verb side of it. Someone in the chat section wrote, drugs help. Yeah, Terence McKenna believed this. Terence McKenna believed that the modern world was being vacuumed into a cyberspace reality that was forgetting how to be a natural being. And Terence McKenna felt that psychedelics or the shamanic methods or Native American spirituality or native spirituality in some sense was a way to release the person from the shackles of the cultural illusion, right? So what it is it depends on the context you hold, right? Right now, look at how incredible this world is, that there's 8 billion human beings on this planet, and these 8 billion human beings each have a different feeling. That means how many different ways are human beings existing right now as I'm speaking? How many different contexts? How many internal context shifts to the external, to the form of the concept that their body is? And there came a moment where I asked myself, let's say the human being is a creature of desire, and let's say the desire is non-physical, right? Let's say like the activation of the desire, the actualization of the desire is physical. Let's say somebody desires to, I don't know, what's a good thing to desire? The desire is abstract. Fulfilling the desire makes it real, okay? And so what's going on is that this objective being is subjectively projecting instances for itself where it's way more successful than before, and it's going towards that. You know what it is? We are such a fascinating being that when we started to exist, it wasn't enough. Existence was not enough for the world. That's why consciousness is, breakdancing. Thoughts come and go. People come and go. Our body changes, everything's changing. In the middle of this changing event, we're freaking out because it didn't change the way we wanted, you know. And so what is the value of the intelligence of creatures on a rock in the middle of nowhere? How has the species not wondered about the beauty, the incredible, I call it the beauty of the unknown variable. You know, this was not, it was shown to me in mathematics when I was young, the unknown x variable, but little did I realize, you know, that unknown x variable is poetically the soul. And you know, not everything is physical. You know, I was reading stories of yogis, you know, ancient yogis. There were some of them here. I'll name a few: Papaji, Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj, Shri Ramana Maharshi. These were people who, in some sense, just like moths that get attracted to a flame, they were such advanced beings that somehow the world had found them. Do you know? And this is why I'm saying life is very beautiful. You know, they were not attempting to speak to they were not trying to speak to a global audience. They were just being the presence, you know, the great presence of their moment, and everything was coming to them, right? And perhaps this is the sacrifice of speech, you know. The energy is being transmuted, you know. Who knows? But one thing I know is that we are at the, you know, frontiers of the language wars and the wars of consciousness, and I cannot allow my species to, in some sense, get destroyed and crushed in the midst of language worship. You see, we are humans. And even though that's a concept, that's a language, but there is a reality behind that name, right? If I say dragons, like we don't have there isn't, like, people haven't seen dragons, right? You know, or maybe somebody threw a giant snake in the sky and somebody was like, dragon, you know, but it's coming down and it doesn't have wings. But what I'm trying to say is that you can try to find a strategy. You can try to escape the outer realms, but it's not designed as something to, in some sense, escape or be free. You know, some people think this world is like a prison. Some people think it's like a school. You know, the soul's in this infinite evolution. It's as if you're in this infinite school as a soul to end up becoming a god of your own world. Do you know? But let me tell you, that's not the case, you know. It's pretty much, you know, truth is watching, you know, ignorant eternity and wondering how high IQ is eternity. What it means is, it's very common sense, like that the creation wants to, the creator wants the creation to notice it. Tell me an inventor who like an inventor of an android who didn't want the android to acknowledge him, right? Even Tony Stark, who made Jarvis, like, you know, he made Jarvis to acknowledge him, right? So what we find is that creation acknowledges its source, right? Just like we have, what do we find in the genetical program? You know, children, do you know, their original honor comes from those who brought them here physically, right? In India, they would say hilariously, your parents are your first god, right? But from a monotheistic sense, you would see that it's as if like they are the first angels, you know, or they can be, you know. You see, it's responsibility of soul once you are ready. Like, sometimes I wondered, why is it that there's girls in high school and like they mess up and they get pregnant at 16, right? And in some sense, why? Like, you know, and you think of it from, let's say, a theological angle, like from as if like there's divinity watching over things, but how has divinity allowed this, right? And then I realized, no. We are not just our appearances. We're not just our physical existence. We are our cultivations of conscious force. So in this lifetime, sometimes I wonder, okay, I think personally, there is no next lifetime. I don't consider a next lifetime, because the world is not something to me just in time anymore, right? The meaning of the world is not just in time, you know. Even though I'm wearing a watch right now, but the meaning the meaning of the world is not in time. And if somebody says, Mr. Within, if the meaning of the world is beyond time, we need time as a sort of a point where matter is changing in space, right? So in a world where there is no time, what can happen? What is even the concept of happening? And this is where I would say it's like we are experiencing the tip of the iceberg, you know? It's the tip of the iceberg. This is why all, like, the actual enlightened gurus who through an oral transmission pass down the teachings, right? It's as if you will after some point realize it, that the human idea is a cocoon, and your whole lifetime something is being built. You know, sometimes I think, is our spirit the intensity we lived our life, you know? And what is really important? You know, if we're a non-physical being, that could be, a person could be like, why should I even exist? Let me just, stop existing, you know? But no. There's something where there seems to be, like, I cannot ignore the fact that the same way I move a steering wheel and the car wheels turn, the same way the intent to move my hand and my hand moves. You see, my body feels like a vehicle for the attention where it's found in. So it's, in some sense, space is driving. Space is piloting the human plane of existence, bud. You know, I don't know if others are like this, but sometimes I like wonder about my childhood. I scroll through my memories, and I wonder if there were clues of my destiny in my childhood, you know? And so it's as if, like, my memories are like me recalling a film. And it's a film. My past appears to me as a film. A very real film. Like a virtual reality experienced film. Okay? And the future appears to me as a film, and it's like the present is the only place where it's live, and it's like the director's already said action, you know. Or hilariously, it's like, you know, the doctor who brings the child into the world is like the director, and, like, you know, humorously slaps the kid on the back, and you know, the actor begins acting. Can you imagine, like, you know, an ancient yogi traveling from the Himalayas, just going to the next Oscar Awards, right? And going to the Oscar Awards and saying, I want to give this next Oscar to Consciousness, the greatest actor in history. Do you know? And imagine everybody in the Oscar Awards are like, WTF, what is this man saying? Do we all need to meditate now? And what happens when you realize that you have been acting in a film that you didn't create? You learn one of the hardest and most biggest transcendental lessons a being can learn once it reaches its greatness. All that is left is to have fun. You see, once the advanced civilization is built, just the fact that we just go there, like we're on that direction, on that momentum, that human beings will build the greatest civilization known to this universal sector. The advanced humanity will be known, even by civilizations that haven't risen yet. We will leave messages in the stars, in the skies. Do you know? And the world will remember itself. Because in actuality, there is 4 types of beings. It's kind of like, this might sound bizarre, but it's like this dimension we're in, at least from my perspective, it's like we're in the mind of 4 gods, 4 types of beings. One of these beings is the void. One of these beings is the singularity, just complete singular being, as think of it God or whatever. Another is a dualistic being. Till the end of time, it will separate itself just like a coin flipping in the air. And then the 4th, which hasn't made an entrance, most likely I don't know why I feel 600 years from now, that's when the era of true infinitism will come psychologically for human beings. Whether through immortal technology or immortal means through cyberspace, or rather we reach a point where man has surpassed his limits. It's the excellence of our species. It's the greatness of our species. Do you know, in an advanced civilization, imagine somebody suddenly goes into anguish and becomes hopeless, and people are like, why are you hopeless? When the efficient decisions in civilization have increased more than 50%. That means when it becomes 51% efficient decisions, let's say 49% inefficient decisions, advanced civilization its engines are starting, right? And when the civilization reaches a conscious capacity, this is the nature of life. Just like how you plant a seed, the seed reaches fruition. Similarly, human beings come and update civilization. Right? And you might not even think you're updating civilization, but you are, by every way that your attention has moved on this earth. You have given this world its potential. Do you know? We are not just living on an earth, but every person is carrying a world behind their eyes. And that world is the gift, the true gift from the gods. That means if anybody wanted to truly know what you have as a human being, in a multidimensional context, what does the human being have? The human being has incredible familiarity with material dimensions. We have incredible observational ability as non-physical spheres of mind. And so what is left is for us to use the clues of how nature has given us a mouth and ears, and we have language as, in some sense, compared to the 4.5 billion year old time of the earth, language developed yesterday, writing developed yesterday. Do you know what I'm saying? So what it is, it's like the tools are given, the design of the species is given, everything is given, and what this world truly wants from you is you. That you. That when you are, you know. Like you will know when the living earth lives through your decency. You will know. Nobody can believe or disbelieve when it comes to the logos. It's an experience. It's a force. It's like a surfer catching a wave. And then you realize the wave is alive. That's the nature of the mind. That's the nature of the inner realms. And I don't know why, I hope in my lifetime. I thought maybe I have the presence of, I thought maybe in this lifetime I'd have that kind of presence where, you know, the most advanced teams would awaken. But who knows, who knows why life has brought us forth, you know? I could be, wanting to give 10,000 talks, and then who knows, in a year from now, I might have kids and, I'll be giving talks to them. But who knows, at the same time, there's the same way my mind gives me an ability to see chaotic, to see ordered outcomes, I can also see chaotic outcomes. And I thought for a long time, I thought the biggest chaotic thing that a consciousness could experience was its own vanishing. That means I had a sort of, when I was younger, a fear of just disappearance, not even externally, like externally because I was shy. I mean, I felt a bit invisible in the outer realms, but at the same time, in the inner realms, I also felt, do you know what it is? Imagine life exiles you from certain dimensions so you can remember who you are and then appreciate those dimensions once you return to it. I don't know, I had a vision. I'll share this because as much as I'm giving these talks for the viewers, these talks are also like my own. They're technically a sort of diaries of my mind, I'm recording like human consciousness for the future generations, as it is in 2023, at least now. I don't know, I have wondered about attention, and I've realized the appearance is in the attention. So the attention's not the appearance. So consciousness is not sight, but it uses it. You know what it is? There was somebody named Freud. If I remember correctly, he wrote a book called Future of an Illusion, Future of a Dream, something like that. And Freud was making the argument that as long as human beings fear death, they will believe in the supernatural, right? So it's as if like you cannot be a proper atheist until you're an immortal physical entity. But whatever you do in this life, you cannot avoid how you are watching your moment like a film as the whole moment. And many beings will come and go, and let us even entertain the idea of lifetimes. Many lifetimes will come and go. And you will see different faces, different animations, different forces. But there will come one lifetime where you will ask yourself why you have been watching an infinite painting as an unknown eternal being, an infinite film. And when that moment comes, when you are wondering about beyond change, that's when you need someone to come and, put their hand on your shoulder and say, there comes a moment where you can't fear the unknown because you are it. Who says I cannot claim myself as an unknown being? That seems to be the most honest thing, right? That means if somebody said, Mr. Within, what are you as a being, as an intelligence? Even if an extraterrestrial landed and asked me, I would say, I am the unknown. And the unknown is the unknown. Is unknown. So what it means is that if truth is unknown, dear viewers, there is a chance that it is literally the unknown. So it could be that the causal state of being is not conditional, which is another way of saying we cannot be certain that we die. because we cannot be certain that we're just the body. And so if there is a chance that the world is deathless, if there is a chance that every person, every psyche, still like a transparent wisp moves in the space-time continuum. 100 years from now, I'm not going to exist probably, and then there's going to be like my talks, right? And so it's as if something that a living being did outlives the living me. And sometimes I wonder. I think the thing is that people don't realize the lectures are gonna be here always, but it's the lecturer who's not always here, right? Similarly, if we were to look at this in our own life, right, it's as if matter, the physical reality, seems to be like it's gonna be around, substance in space, matter in space, but it's the one who is in some sense being it. Do you know what I'm saying? We're not just human beings. Our free will is allowing us to choose to be a type of human, And ultimately, I don't know why, but I thought like, okay, something doesn't make sense. Human beings have memory. Human beings have memories of their childhood. Human beings are growing up, but what are they going to do with the memories of their childhood? And so what it is that it's kind of like a Tetris game of different senses of self layering upon one another, right? And when you experience something of a selfless, non-dualistic presence of your own being, then your brain behaves differently. Your brain doesn't fear the outer realms, and it stops fearing the inner realms. It stops fearing because it understands that fear is paralysis. But courage is dynamism. And so even if you're scared, act brave. And ultimately, why are our hearts beating? Are we here to be treated as just energy? Or is there something more? Is there something precious and beautiful behind the eyes of man? What if what is actually the soul is the greatest outcome of the world? And so the greatest outcome of a reality in time, perhaps it goes beyond time. I have thought about what do I do with like consciousness? What do I do with like my consciousness wanting to like value itself, or I should say it in this way, before I have a concept of physical or non-physical, how should my attention value itself? Excuse me. I guess the way attention should value itself is it should ask what it has access to. Sometimes when I look at the foolish things I did when I was younger, if I had more curiosity in the moment, the foolishness could have been bypassed. Dear human beings, Mr. Within will recommend, out of all the archetypes that society, the world, and history, and culture, and various forces will give you, do not forget, you are an explorer of an unknown world. And not only is this world inner and outer, the unknown factors, but you're also an unknown self. And when I asked myself, if I'm an unknown being, if we as a species don't know what the mind is, which is another way of saying we don't know what we are actually, what are we fearing? We don't even know what is dying. Do you know, people say death is the end, but we don't even know what is dying. We see certain parts of what is dying, but optical illusions come by the dozen. The appearance of attention is more like what sort of appearance or what sort of shape or image is in your attention. We are moments of being, and the human is in it. Like right now, I don't know, should I consider this car as part of my body because it's in the awareness of my mind? Should I consider just my body to be part of my mind? Like, why is it that I can't be this car? Or like, why can't this laptop be me? Right? It's just like my biological body, it's in my awareness. But why isn't the laptop being me? And it's coming down to what we can control. So human identity is being based on control, and this is why I guess people are dying for freedom. You know? And nowadays people are saying like there's a matrix, there's good and evil, societies at work in the world. And let me tell you, there's only two types of societies. Okay? Ones that have understood their inside of universe, they're universal beings, and one where they're still playing, dress up with land and objects and subjective dress up. What we are is energy, right? Like there's an energy being that tree right now. I'm looking outside. And then I wonder, should that tree have freedom? Should it not have freedom? It's just being what it is. Energy is free. That's how it's existing. So on some level, our ability to exist to ourselves is an instantaneous freedom, right? That means it's as if people don't realize, it's like, why, some people think children cry, right? But they don't realize those are tears of joy. And you know why the young child is having tears of joy? Because it has just been given a world. You have been given a world from an a priori unknown state. Direct experience from the beginning of time has been tried to be contained. Even if somebody becomes super powerful, why do you think there's strategies of divide and conquer? Do you know? Because people knew that once you interfere with the system, you have disturbed the potential of its elegance. It's like somebody trying to explain something, he gets interrupted and the person's like, I gotta begin again. Because the rhythm was a rhythm. So anyways. Alright, 10% battery. If there's any questions, feel free to ask. And people may wonder who Mr. Within is. Mr. Within is how from within we're actually, like something within the brain is happening. Something within us is literally happening that's allowing us to notice something outside of us. And so, let's say you're a warrior, or just like the wallpaper of this, epic wallpaper I found for this talk. Let's say you're a ninja and there's a blood moon. And so you're jumping from tree to tree as if you are mastering your space-time continuum. You're mastering your own ability, your own existential mobility. Anyways, thanks for listening. Share, subscribe, comment, like if you feel these talks are worthy. And as a comment, if viewers want to comment, right, what I'm trying to do is leave viewers with a question to answer in the comment section. So what is a non-physical being? Write down in the comment section what you think is a non-physical being. And as the smiling future knows and will remind us indefinitely, rise, mankind, rise.